Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Parama Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Sarva Gurubhyo Namaha. So we're continuing on with Hari Bhakti Vilas. We're in the 9th Vilas, and we've been talking about the daily activities of a Vaishnava. And after the ritualistic worship of the deity of Lord Krishna, we are then we have to there are other duties to perform, such as taking prasadam and then studying and teaching other people the scriptures. And finally, we have some time to perform our daily work. And here, what we're going to do is we're going to see the discussion of accepting prasadam. So here we discussed all about actually taking prasadam and how to take prasadam and the rituals involved with having a meal. And that was we already discussed. And now we're going to get a mahatmyam, or a glorification of accepting the remnants of the Lord's food, which is the Lord's prasadam or mercy. So we're starting from text 390, Atha Naivedyam Mahatmyam. So the glories of the Lord's remnants of food. In the Varaha Purana it stated, can anyone achieve more happiness than that which is obtained by eating my prasad, offering worship after worshiping me and offering me very palatable food? Right, so this is the Supreme Lord says this himself, that this is the greatest happiness according to this verse, taking the Lord's prasadam, because we offer wonderful foodstuffs to the Lord, and therefore we take the remnants of that. To text 391 from Skanda Purana, so the above was from Varaha Purana, now we're going from Skanda Purana. It says, a great soul who serves the Lord of sacrifice by relishing the remnants of his food lives happily by accepting whatever is allotted to him at the conclusion of sacrificial performances. Right. So sacrificial performances means at the end of not just at the end of a fire ceremony, but also at the end of worship or the end of kirtan, whatever way worship is being performed to the Lord. Because in this Kali Yuga, Harinam Sankirtanam is one of the main yagyas, is one of the main sacrifices. So at the end of kirtan, prasadam, at the end of puja to the deity, prasadam, at the end of some sacrifice, prasadam, there will always be at the end of every Vaishnava activity or ritual, there is prasadam. Even when we're following different vows or vrats like Ekadasi and fasting, at the end of it is prasadam. Right. So text 392, in the same Purana, which means Skanda Purana, it's also said, water from a conch shell, which we previously talked about as being sanctified, is more sanctified than water from a holy place of pilgrimage. Water that washed the lotus feet of the Lord is more sanctified than the combined water of all holy places. The remnants of the Lord's food awards one more benefit than the piety earned by performing 10 million sacrifices. The remnants of the Lord's flowers and other offerings award one merit equal to that which is achieved by following vows and giving charity. Now, it's also continues to be said, one who regularly honors Lord Vishnu's prasad of tulsi leaves, right? So we take tulsi leaves, we can touch them to our head, we can wear a tulsi garland after the Lord has used these things, and we can eat the tulsi leaves. We can take the tulsi leaves that are as part of prasadam or separately also, right? Taking the tulsi leaves which are offered to the Lord, along with water that washed his lotus feet, obtains the merit of performing 10 million sacrifices. So this is the normal system. When you go into a temple, you have a darshan of the deity, and after you see the deity and worship the Lord, then the pujari or the archika, he will give you charanamrita first. He will give you the water that's washed the feet of the Lord, which we call padodaka. Pada udika. Udika means water. Pada means feet. Or it's also called charanamrita. Amrita means the nectar of immortality, and charana means feet. So charanamrita. And you sip that, and usually it's sipped 3 times, right? And then touch the head. And then he will also give you some tulsi leaves and flowers, so you can eat those. You can eat those tulsi leaves, right, that have been offered to the Lord. Text 394, in the age of Kali, simply by eating the Lord's remnants of food, one achieves the merit of fasting for 6 months. Right. Fasting for 6 months sounds like a very difficult thing to do. Obviously, it doesn't mean If there was some sort of vow to fast for 6 months, it wouldn't be to fast from everything. It'd be very difficult, I think almost impossible for somebody not to eat for 6 months. But, there will be some restriction. There's some food that you could take, or some sort of liquid or something that you could take if you were doing a fast for 6 months. But here it says, just simply by taking prasad, it's equal to the merit of fasting for 6 months. Now, in the Shalagram Shila, Sri Shalagram Shila Mahatmyam, in the glorification of Shalagram Shilas, right, in the same literature, and that literature was, once again, I think, Skanda Purana, right? Skanda Purana. In the same literature, in the Mahatmyam, in the glorification of worshipping Shalagram Shila, or the glories of Shalagram Shila, it says, one who honors the remnants of food offered to the Shalagram Shila obtains the merit of performing hundreds of thousands of sacrifices. Right. Text 396 to 397. All the members of the 4 varnas and ashramas, so remember society is understood to be divided up into these 4 different castes or classes of people, and also there are different stages of life that those people go through, called varnas and ashramas, should honor Lord Vishnu's remnants of food. So everybody should do that. Everybody should honor Lord Vishnu's remnants of food, right? There is no use to arguing this point. If a Brahmana eats the remnants of the demigod's food or a Devata's food, not Vishnu, he must atone for observing the vow of Chandrayana. Remember, this Chandrayana fast is a fast which takes a whole month, right? We fast for eating less and less food, eating more and more food up until, but a maximum of 15 handfuls or mouthfuls of food each day, right? Down to a minimum of 0 throughout the month. So this is called Chandrayana fasting. So if you eat food which is offered to any Devata, not Vishnu, you have to do that. If he eats the remnants of Lord Vishnu's food, right, he will achieve the merit of performing 10 million sacrifices. Right. So here's a plus and a minus here. It's saying if you eat Vishnu Prasadam or Krishna Prasadam, it's so great. The punya, the piety, the spiritual merit from eating Krishna Prasadam is so great, like that. On the other hand, if you eat the prasadam or the remnants of some other deity, not Vishnu, like that, you will have to atone for that, because that is basically a sin, and therefore you'll have to atone it by fasting for a month. So it's very difficult. Now, a question might occur. Reading this, it came into my mind. A question might occur. What about when we take the remnants of a great Vaishnava? So like the spiritual masters, either Shiksha Guru or Diksha Guru, the persons that we venerate, other Vaishnavas, we can take the prasadam from other Vaishnavas, what is left over, their remnants, like that. So there are many examples. Ramanuja he had a particular person who he felt was a great Vaishnava. He wanted to take the remnants of that person's food, like that. So we know that one can take the remnants. Usually we don't take the remnants of other people, but if the person is a great Vaishnava, and we can take their remnants as their prasadam, as their mercy. Now, they're also eating Krishna Prasadam. They're also eating Krishna Prasadam. So what we're eating is not Krishna Prasadam. So this sin, which occurs by taking the food of a demigod, right, or a devata, doesn't occur. Now, the question comes, what about these devatas? What about these demigods like Lord Shiva? Isn't Shiva considered to be a Mahajana? Aren't some of these devatas, right? Even we could say even Lakshmi, or right, might be considered to be a devata. She's not Vishnu, right? So can we take Lakshmi Prasadam? Can we take the Prasadam of Shiva? If we think that Shiva is a great devotee, if you think that Shiva is a great devotee, we can take his Prasadam. But only if that food is offered to Vishnu first and then offered to Shiva. We understand? Just like we use the water from the Ganges. What is the water from the Ganges? It comes off the head of Lord Shiva before it reaches the earth. So it's touched Lord Shiva, right? So it's basically the water that washes the head of Shiva, right? But originally it comes over the feet of Vishnu. So it's like Charanamrita. So it doesn't become contaminated in that way by touching Shiva. So if we have food that we've offered to Krishna, and it's Krishna prasadam, even if we offer it to some other deity who is an associate, right, or a consort, or who is a follower of Shiva, a follower of Krishna, right, a devotee of Krishna, a Vaishnava, right, like Shiva or Lakshmi, like that. Still, we can take that, and it doesn't incur this sin of taking a devata's food. This refers to when we offer something directly to the devata and was not offered to anybody else before, right? Then we take it. Then that we cannot do, right? Then that's a sin, like that. It first has to be offered to Krishna. Now, another shastric pramana for this would be Aradhanam Sarvesham Vishnu Manadhanam Param Tasmat Paratanam Devi Tariyanam Saachanam. Lord Shiva has said to his wife Parvati that the worship of Vishnu is the greatest, or the worship of Krishna is the greatest of Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna. But even greater than the worship of Lord Krishna is the worship of the devotees, or that which is related to Krishna. That which is related to Krishna specifically means the devotees of Lord Krishna, the Vaishnavas. So taking the food of the Vaishnavas, taking the food of devatas, if that food was first offered to Krishna, if we're worshipping the devatas with food that's offered to Krishna, that can be done. We can do that. Right. So now we have this section, 398 to 399, from the Skanda Purana, conversation between Brahma and Narada. The merit one obtains by performing 1,000 Agnistoma, which is a Soma sacrifice in which they offer Soma. Excuse me. And 100 horse sacrifices can undoubtedly be achieved by honoring the remnants of Lord Vishnu's food. One whose heart is decorated with the transcendental form of Lord Hari, whose mouth chants the holy name of Hari, Lord Hari, whose stomach is filled with the remnants of Lord Hari's food, and whose head is adorned with the remnants of Lord Hari's flower garlands, and water washed by his lotus feet, is as glorious as Lord Achyuta himself. So we become, by taking the prasadam, by chanting the holy name, by taking the prasadam, by wearing the flower gowns, by sipping the charanamrita of the Lord, we become qualitatively equal to the Lord. But of course, we're not quantitatively equal like that. So he's as glorious as the Lord himself, is stated here. Text 400, it's also said, the remnants of Lord Vishnu have been glorified by perfected beings, great sages and demigods as most sanctified. They have stated that after eating the remnants of demigods' foods or devatas' foods, one should undergo the atonement of Chandrayana by performing the Chandrayana fasting vow. So again, this Chandrayana fasting vow is a severe form of penance, which takes 1 month to complete. And this is supposed to be done, right, if one eats food which is simply offered to a devata. If that food was never offered to Vishnu before that. Text 401 to 402. The same merit that is obtained by performing millions of sacrifices and fasting for millions of months can be achieved simply by eating Lord Vishnu's remnants of food, by honoring Mahaprasad with tulsi leaves, and by accepting the Lord's flower garlands and other things that were offered to him. All of the gravest sinful reactions are destroyed. Continuing on from the Brihad Vishnu Purana, text 403 to 405, it says, O Brahmanas, know for certain that one should not discriminate, thinking, this is fit for eating, this is not fit for eating, with regards to Lord Vishnu's remnants of food and drink. So sometimes people think, oh, I'll eat this or I won't eat that. It's all Mahaprasadam. It's all Prasadam of Lord Vishnu. It's all Prasadam of Krishna. Mahaprasadam of Lord Vishnu is unaffected by any material condition because it is transcendental like the Lord himself. Indeed, it is non-different from Lord Vishnu. Those who discriminate or have reservations about honoring Lord Vishnu's remnants of food will suffer leprosy and reside in hell after losing his wife and children. That's a pretty heavy punishment for people who criticize prasadam like that. So sometimes people will say, "Oh, this is not hot. It's gone cold. Or it's old, or it's stale, whatever it is." There'll be some, or it may be too spicy, or whatever it is. We have some criticism of prasadam. We should never criticize prasadam. Prasadam is non-different from the Lord, and therefore criticizing prasadam is like criticizing the Lord. Of course, it's the responsibility of people who offer the prasadam, who cook the prasadam, that they cook something which is first class. We shouldn't offer burned rice to the Lord. We shouldn't offer bad tasting food to the Lord. Naturally, we shouldn't offer any old items, right? Any stale items, right? So in any case, prasadam should not be criticized. Now, this particular sloka here reminds me of a story in Narada Pancharatra. There's a story in Narada Pancharatra. There was one Brahmin and his son and wife, and they were very poor. And so many times rich sponsors used to sponsor different rituals and pujas. And they would invite Brahmins to come and they would feed a number of Brahmins. So this Brahmin was so poor, he used to go and he used to, a lot of times he would attend these pujas just so he could get food to eat for him and his son and his wife. So he would go and he would attend different pujas. So in Narada Pancharatra, it's spoken about like this. So one day, on the way back from one of these pujas, this Brahmin and his son, they saw some rice, which was Mahaprasadam of the Lord, but it had become old and stale, and somebody had discarded it by the side of the road. So they picked up the rice because they saw some tulsi leaf or something like that. They knew that this was Mahaprasadam that had been offered to Krishna. So they picked it up because they had reverence for it. They realized it's Mahaprasadam, but it's a little bit old, but they were very hungry and they're very poor. So they took it home. The wife took it and she made sure that any dirt or sand that had mixed with it because it was put by the side of the road was taken out. And then she cleaned it and she reheated it. And she then offered it, and they all sat down and they all ate that prasad, right? Thinking that it's glorious prasadam, right? It's the Lord's prasadam, and it can't be contaminated. There's a saying in Jagannath Puri that the prasadam in Jagannath Puri that's offered to Lord Jagannath is so auspicious, is so transcendental, that even if a portion of that Mahaprasadam drops from the mouth of a dog, even if a dog sees some on the street and begins to eat it, and some drops from his mouth, even then you can take that Mahaprasadam and you can eat it because it is considered completely pure, even though it's been fallen on the ground and come in contact with the mouth of a dog. So this Brahmin, he knew that. So he took this Mahaprasadam and they ate it. They ate it all after washing it and everything and reheating it. They ate this Mahaprasadam. So then later what happened was that Brahmin went to he was invited to another ritual to be fed by a rich sponsor. So he went to that ritual. And this time he left his wife and his son behind. He himself went. And in order to get there, he had to pass through a dense forest. So there was a tiger in the forest, and that tiger attacked the Brahmin and ate the Brahmin, attacked the Brahmin and killed him and ate him. Because the tiger is a meat-eating animal, a carnivorous animal, and it attacked him and ate him. Okay, so then at the end of the story in Narada Pancharatra, this is from the Narada Pancharatra, in the end of the story it says, what happened to all these people at the time of death? Well, at the time of death, the wife and the son of this Brahmana, they ascended to Vaikuntha because of eating that prasadam, that stale prasadam. The Brahmin himself, because of eating that stale prasadam, he has ascended to Vaikuntha. And it says even the tiger ascended to Vaikuntha because the tiger had eaten the Brahman who had eaten the prasadam. Such is the greatness of Mahaprasadam, of Krishna's prasadam, that the tiger didn't eat prasadam, but he ate the Vaishnava, he ate the Brahman who ate the stale prasadam, and therefore indirectly ate the prasadam and went to Vaikuntha. So all of them were liberated at the end of this story. So this is some people may consider this to be hyperbole or exaggeration in the scripture, just to show the merits of Mahaprasadam. This story is there in Narada Pancharatra. So we can therefore understand how great Mahaprasadam is by stories such as this. We're not suggesting that we should feed Vaishnavas to carnivorous animals so that those animals will be liberated. We're suggesting that Mahaprasadam is so great that any connection at all with it, even if that's an indirect connection, one achieves the greatest benefit. So, text 406, from the Vishnu Damodara, it says, Lord Keshava, the slayer of the Madhu demon, he's called Madhusudana, or the killer of Madhu, considers that person very dear to him who offers him everything, including rice, fruit, flowers, and then partakes of the remnants. What does Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita? Patram, pushpam, halam, toyam. Fruit, flower, leaf, some water. Patram is a leaf. Pushpam is a flower. Halam is some fruit. And toyam is water. If one offers these things to me with love and devotion, tadaham bhakti upahritya, if you have love and devotion and you offer these things to the Lord, he accepts. And the good thing about offering things to Krishna is when we offer those things to Krishna, he leaves those things as his remnants, as his mercy, as his prasadam, and we can partake of the prasadam, we can honor the prasadam. So previously also we were discussing in the last session about offering everything to Krishna, even our new clothes or even whatever we have which is new, brand new, we can offer to Krishna and it becomes the Lord's prasadam. Even incense or a lamp should always be offered to Krishna first. We saw that particular pramana from the Bhagavatam, that the lamp should always be offered to Lord Krishna first yesterday. So, text 407 from the Brahmanda Purana, it's mentioned, one who eats Lord Mukunda's remnants of food every day obtains the merit of performing 100 Chandrayana vratas with each bite that he consumes. So there's a very nice meditation. If we sit down and we're taking prasadam, every bite that we take is like that month-long, is like 100 of those month-long fasts that were described. That's spiritual potency that we get from taking that. Text 408, it's elsewhere it said, simply by honoring Lord Vishnu's remnants of food, one obtains the merit of observing 1,000 Ekadasi vratas and 10 million fasts. Right, it makes you wonder why fast at all, right? So there's two people, it's Ekadasi, and one person decides he's going to fast, and the other person decides he's going to take Krishna Prasadam. That person who takes Krishna Prasadam obtains the merit of observing 1,000 Ekadasis and 10 million fasts. That person who fasts on Ekadasi, he gets the benefit of fasting on Ekadasi, on one Ekadasi. But the other person who eats Prasadam, he gets the benefit of fasting on 1,000 Ekadasis. According to this. Now, later on, when we talk about Ekadasi Vratam, we're going to see similar Shastric hyperbole or Shastric exaggeration, what we call to enthuse us to fast on Ekadasi. Right now, we're reading a section of the scriptures that is trying to get us enthused to take Krishna Prasadam. Later on, we're going to see another section of the scriptures that encourages us to fast on certain days, right? So this is very interesting. So people, sometimes they get confused and they go, well, which one is it? Both are important. Both things are important. So on Ekadasi, one can meditate upon the glories of Ekadasi and the glories of fasting. And on the on the other days, one can think about the glories of taking prasadam. So there's always glorious devotional service in one form or another. There's another story about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that, or it's actually about Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was an associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's a great scholar and living in Jagannath Puri. And at one time, some of the Puri Prasadam, the Mahaprasadam from Jagannath Temple, was brought to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, but he was somebody. Sometimes somebody gives you prasadam, Krishna prasadam, and you're just standing in the street, or you're not actually sitting down and ready to honor it in a proper way, but somebody just gives you prasadam, some food stuff that's been offered to the Lord. Somehow or other you get it. So what should you do? Like that. So Sarvabhauma, in that story, he immediately took the prasadam of Lord Jagannath, even because there's no rules and regulations. If you simply get prasadam, you can immediately honor it by taking it. At the same time, there are also examples where a person is fasting, a great saintly person is fasting, and prasadam is offered to them like that. And they say, okay, I will accept the prasadam, I will offer the prasadam, but I won't eat it today because I'm fasting. So somebody will come with the prasadam, and the person will pay his obeisances to the prasadam and touch the prasadam, the plate, to his head and say, prasadam is so great, I offer my obeisances to the prasadam, because prasadam is not different from Krishna. So this is another strategy that some Vaishnavas employ when they're performing a fast, but somebody offers them some prasadam. So when somebody offers you prasadam, if anybody's ever read the Satyanarayan Katha, right? It's a Puranic story about some person, and he rejected the prasadam was offered to him, and he rejected it. And so many bad things happened to that person because of that. So simply by taking the prasadam, so many good things occurred in his life spiritually. So we should never disrespect Mahaprasadam. So even if the Mahaprasadam is old or stale or too spicy, whatever it is, if we shouldn't criticize the prasadam. The prasadam is non-different from Krishna, right? We may not be able to eat it or take it at that time because we're fasting or because it doesn't agree with us in some way, like that. For instance, we have many Vaishnavas today. There are some Vaishnavas today who are vegans. They don't eat milk products, or they don't eat honey. They don't eat products that come from animals. So if that person is offered some prasadam, which is non-vegan, which is vegetarian but non-vegan, which has been offered to Lord Krishna, or let's say, here's another example. We offer the pan. We offer the pan to Lord Krishna, which is slightly intoxicating, slightly narcotic, something like tea or coffee. It's a slight intoxicant, right? This pan, like that. It's offered to Lord Krishna. For Lord Krishna, it's fine. But normally here, we were discussing yesterday about taking tambulam after prasadam, like that. That can be done, and of course we can take the Lord's tambulam prasadam. If we're grihastas, there are some rules in Varnashrama that say that brahmacharis, sannyasis, vanaprasthas, they shouldn't be taking pan. It's only the grihastas that are allowed to take pan or tambulam. So like that. So what can a brahmachari or a sannyasi do if he's offered the pan prasadam of the Lord? He can offer his obeisances to it. He can pay his respects to it, just like if he was fasting or something like that, and he can offer his respects and he can give it to someone else to actually eat. Okay, so these are all different strategies that are put into place for people who are fasting, or people who are vegans, or people who have some reason for not actually imbibing the prasadam or eating the prasadam, right? They can honor the prasadam in some other way. So anyway, that's interesting. So text 409, thereafter, one should, according to the prescribed rules, perform achamana, right? Offer betel nuts and spices to the Lord, and then, as an obedient servant, accept them as his remnants. Okay, so this is understood that when we offer mukhavasa, which is a mixture of spices, or pan, which is spices wrapped in a particular leaf, or or just a tambulam, which is cut up betel nut, which is sometimes spiced, right, with menthol and different spices, right? When we offer this as a mouth refresher for the Lord, right, then we can also take that afterwards. This is meant for, usually it's meant in Varnashram system for grihastas, like that. Okay, but we don't criticize if anybody wants to take the Lord's remnants. If the Lord's pan remnants or tambalam or mukhavasa remnants are offered to you, if you want to take them, you can take their Krishna prasadam. Whatever is offered to the Lord is Krishna prasadam, like that. So it's possible. So here is just the example of how they're offered to the Lord. First of all, you offer the Lord achmana, you offer the betel nuts and spices, and then you take the remnants of those things. So text 410, in the story of the pastimes of King Ambarish, in the Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 4, verse 20, we see, indeed, Maharaj Ambarish never desired anything for his own sense gratification. He engaged all of his senses in devotional service in various engagements related to the Lord. This is the way to increase attachment for the Lord and become completely free from any material desires. So Maharaj Ambarish is given as the example in the Bhagavatam of a person who did all the different forms of Navada Bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Dasyam, Sakam, Agmanivedam, all the different Navada Bhaktis, the different 9 forms of devotional service. He did them all. He engaged all his different senses. So if we had, we were just talking about tambalam or pan or mukhavasa, spices. If it's something that you take in your life, okay, if you take this mukhavasa to refresh your mouth after eating, then you should take only that mukhavasa which has been offered to the Lord and which is the Lord's prasadam. So engage all of your senses in the service of the Lord by taking the remnants of the Lord. That's the point. Text 411. The glories of honoring the Lord's food remnants and flower garlands are also applicable in this connection. So this was just carrying on from this point about Maharaj Ambarish engaging all of his senses, right? So the glories of honoring the Lord's remnants and food and flower garlands are also acceptable in this connection. They're also applicable like that. So whatever is offered to the Lord is his prasadam, and we should accept it like that. So this ends the translation of the 9th Vilasa of Hari Bhakti Vilasa. And the next Vilasa that we take up will be the 10th Vilasa. And the 10th Vilasa will also be talking about, after honoring prasadam, it'll talk about some other things, other ways to spend the 6th and 7th parts of the days, discussing different literature, different scriptures, right? So this is what we call swadhyaya. So in the scheme of the devotee's life, in his day-to-day activities, he starts out with abhigamana, upadana, ija, swadhyaya, and yoga. So we finished talking about abhigamana from the 3rd Vilasa onwards, maybe 3rd to 5th Vilasa. We're talking about abhigamana, which means taking bath and getting ready to do our puja. Upadana comes here and there, collecting flowers, collecting tulsi, collecting durva grass, different items for the puja, right? Then that is upadana. Then ija, the actual worship we went through, which is basically from Vilasas 5 to 8. And now in Vilasa number 9, we dealt with some of the activities, initial activities after the worship, and also earning our livelihood, right? And now we come to this idea of swadhyaya, of actually studying the scriptures and teaching the scriptures, because remember the 6 things that a Brahmin or an intellectual or a Vaishnava also, right? Not just Brahmin, but a Vaishnava does, is that he yajana patana dana pratikriya. He performs worship of the Lord. He teaches others to worship the Lord, or he performs worship for other people. He studies the scriptures and he teaches the scriptures, and he also accepts charity, gives charity and accepts charity in that order. So these are the 6 Brahminical activities and also Vaishnava activities that we have to do. So now we come to this in the 10th Vilasa, we'll be starting talking about swadhyaya, studying of the scriptures.